Okay, we're in Fusion 360 and we want to create a model of a ring. So first thing us to go and create a sketch. Now, sketch, select a plane on your field of view. Once you've selected that plane, you can select any one of those. You'll go into 2D view. Now we're going to create a circle, so select the circle tool, left click, and you'll notice on the side here there's a whole bunch of options, but left click, drag out with your left click mouse and then select the size. I'm going to type in 25 there, I think. Now you can click the fit button if you want to make it big to fit your screen. Click on your circle again, draw another circle out, and this time make it a bit less. This is going to be the thickness of the ring. I'm going to make it 22. You just type in 22 and hit enter. We've got two circles there. Alright, with that then you can use the spin button over here to move your object around in 3D space. It'll pivot on the center point, so it's useful for you to know. And I think we might move across now and start to look in the toolbar up here. You can finish a sketch at the top. Once the sketch is finished, we'll go to extruding to create a 3D shape. So we're going to create that surface and make it an extrude. So we click the extrude button up the top there on the left, highlight the surface we want to extrude. Now you're going to hover over the middle of it and it'll turn a blue color. On the extrude panel on the right, you'll see a range of options, and particularly we're going to focus off extruding on both sides, making it symmetrical. So you can see the two arrows appear on that disc. There's the two arrows, and we want to drag those out. We can drag it out by hand if we want, or we could even enter a dimension if we should so choose. So I might make it 10 millimeters on either side, and then click OK, and now we've extruded the object 10 millimeters on either side from that center plane. Alright, next stage is we want to look at, I'll tell you a little bit about turning it on and off. So if you can't see your center, or if you can't see anything, have a look at those eyes on the left hand side and click them, and you'll be able to bring objects into view and tools into view, or take them out of view if you want. Now we're going to go to create a plane. So we're going to select a plane from the plane menu and drag it up, and I'm going to set that plane at a distance of, well, I can just drag it by hand if I want, and type in the information that I want to type in. If I want to make it precise, maybe make it 14, and then it's going to be time to, we've got to create a plane. Now that plane we select, we're going to be a drawing. We're going to draw on top of that plane because Fusion has to draw on a surface. You can right click and then select from a menu if you want, which is what I've done. And then we're in a 2D drawing mode again. Now we're going to go to an ellipse. So select from your create panel an ellipse. Center click on the right in the middle of the universe there of the top of our ring, and then click on another little section which is the radius of the ellipse. I'm going to go right out to the edge with my left mouse button and then just simply drag out, and you start to see the ellipse forming. Now you can hit escape at any time if you want to get out of this and try it again. Okay, so now I've drawn an ellipse, 40 millimeters from the center of the ring, sitting up there. It's going to be the top surface of the ring that I'm going to put a letter on. There it is sitting, because pretty soon we're going to actually create a loft, which is an interesting transition from one shape to another. Before we do that, we're going to select that center plane down the bottom as I've done, and then we're going to do a sketch. I'll right click to get that menu, and we're going to hit the slice button. Now that just takes a slice all the way through so that we can actually see more clearly how big we want to make our rectangular shape in the middle of the ring that we're going to loft to. So we're going to create a rectangle shape once you've sliced. So go up to your drawing panel, select rectangle, and I'm going to say that type of rectangle. So from the center, drag outwards. It'll be symmetric about the center, and as long as you go hover in between the thickness of the ring, finish your rectangle so it sits inside there. When we come to doing our loft, we'll find that the loft will embed into that shape. So go in between your outer and your inner edges for your rectangle on both sides, fairly close to the edge if you can, and eyeball it. Release and hit enter, and we've now got a rectangular sketch sitting down there beneath our elliptical sketch. So now comes the fun part. We finished the sketch off, so there it is. You can see our shapes, our ellipse, and our rectangle. And now we're going to go to the Create menu again, and we're going to find the Loft function. See how it transitions one shape to another? Okay, so here's the dialog box, and the first thing I want you to do is to find out what the first shape is. So select that by left mouse button clicking, and then you'll be wanting to find out what the second shape that you're going to transition the loft to. Well, in this case I want it to be that rectangle. I highlight it, make sure it goes nice and blue, and your shape transitions, as you can see there. If you click OK, you'll notice I've actually cut out the shape instead of filling it in with a solid body. So if you want to fix that up, go back down to your memory bar down the bottom, and then right click on the latest one of your tasks, and you can edit it. You can edit task, and now look down through the menu here. We'll go up and down a few times, but don't forget on the right hand side there's a scrolling bar. So eventually we'll get to that scrolling bar and drag down, and you'll see that the object can be cut or joined or sectioned. So we want to create a new body, make it solid, and click OK, and now you see you've got that solid body that we want. But there's some stuff in the way in the middle of the ring, so we need to remove that. So in order to do that, we're going to have to do another sketch and create a cutting plane. So I'm going to select the plane to sketch onto, which will be the edge surface of this ring. Well, no, yeah. Okay, so we'll select the plane and we'll create a sketch. We'll create a sketch and then select it onto the plane. It doesn't matter which order you do it. And now we'll begin a sketch on that plane. Okay, we're in 2D view. Now we want to get rid of that big bulge in the middle that we've created through our extrusion. So we're going to do a circle, select a circle, draw it out. I know that the inner radius diameter is 22, so type in 22. That takes us to exactly to the right point. And now we're going to remove that section there. So see that section I'm highlighting? I'm highlighted it by left clicking. Go along, you can go on to create, but really you probably just need the modify menu. If you click on solid at the top there, you'll get your extrusion button. Select the area that you want to extrude. There it is. And now you want to cut, so make sure you're cutting in your menu and just drag it through with the handle, the arrow handle. You can click OK. And now we're starting to get more of a shape of our ring. Still a bit thick and fat. We're going to make another adjustment in a minute, but you can start to see it's coming along. Right, I want to trim the sides of the ring to make it a bit thinner, a bit more presentable. So to do that, we're going to create a sketch on a plane which is vertical, that splits the ring in two from top to bottom. And then we're going to hit the slice button to be able to split that so we can work out exactly where we want our lines to go more clearly. We're going to select the line. Now when you select the line, we're going to go to a spline. Two different sorts of splines. Select the top version, and then you're going to do a series of dots, and the line is going to follow in a smooth fashion between those dots. But I want, because you're going to slice through this line later on, I want the line to be a bit curvy with a bit of artistic sort of license and talent in there. All the way down so it cuts across both surfaces or both edges of the diagram that you're drawing. Now we If that ever happens and you've got a loose end on a spline, you can always hit the escape button and start again if you need to. So escape button's a good thing to know about. So I click on the last part of the line. Now I've got to get rid of that whisker. If you hit escape, you go back to nothing again. It all disappears. So we'll do it one more time, just so that you know. I'm going to start outside the object now, because it doesn't matter that I do. And draw my 2 or 3 spots and dots, and I can weave my line in between them. And when I get to the end, you can hit enter. So go outside your drawing, because we're going to make this a cutting plane. Hit enter. And then we'll just do a normal line and just close the shape in, because you can't extrude any shape that's not enclosed. Alright. Now if you need to adjust your lines, you can get in close. So I'm center mouse button rolling to do this, to enlarge my screen. I want to just make sure all my lines are touching, because sometimes you can look like they are, but if you get up right close like this, they may not be touching. So to fix that up, we'll just move the line into position. You can hover over that point with your left mouse button and drag it. If it doesn't work the first time, try it again until you reach that point where you select the point, and then you can drag that point into position where you want it to be. Very useful feature. Yeah, sometimes there's a bit of hovering to be done over the line. But if I go back out, you should see now we've got a shape. Okay. Now we're going to go down to use the mirror function. Well, not really the measure, we want to extrude. So first, now, do you notice how that shape's not extruding? Why is that? Well, in the bottom left hand corner of the shape, you can see the lines aren't joined. They've been moved around. So we've got to fix this up. So I'm going to go back and align the bottom line with the sloping spline. Just hovering over it until I can select it, and I should be able to drag it up. Here we go. That should make it a continuous enclosed shape. I can go back to extruding it now. Up top left, yeah, and turned nice and blue to indicate that it's an entire shape. And we're going to extrude it. Okay. So select the extrude button. You've done this before. Make sure it's cutting. Draw it all the way through so that it removes the material that you want to remove. Click OK. And you can see, if we look now, that it's starting to get more of a shape, more profile. Some couple of things still not quite right. For example, you've got a little ridge sitting up there. See where I'm pointing to? I don't like that ridge. So I'm going to go back to my sketch and fix it up. So I'm going to go back down onto the history record and then edit the sketch. And then I'm going to drag these lines a little bit so that they remove that little obstacle. There you go. I've dragged it out a little bit further. And we'll leave it sit at that point. You can play around with it a lot if you want to, but for our sakes we'll just leave it like this at the moment. Okay. Now, trying to size this up to get it just right, but once we've done this, we're going to hit OK, and it'll automatically go through all the motions and extrude the way you asked it to. So the next thing for us to do is to place some fillets on some of these sharp edges that you can see around this area, around the cut surface. So, well, no, actually we're going to do a mirror. So we went down to mirror there, and we're going to create the mirrored surface. So you need to select a plane by which you're going to mirror and an object to mirror about that plane. You can select either an object or select a function that you've done, like extruding or cutting, and it will mirror about that plane. Next, let's do a fillet. That's the thing I wanted to do, yeah, around some edges. So select one of those surfaces and change your fillet radius. I've made it 1, but you'll see, yeah, that should work. Nice filleted edge is a bit nicer. And now might try this inner edge. We'll try 1, but it probably won't work well because this geometry that won't be able to survive with 1 is too big a radius. So we'll go back, we'll edit that shape, that fillet that we tried to do, and we're going to create a radius of 0.5 of a millimeter just to take the sharp edge off a little bit. So go fillet again and change that to 0.5. It won't work with 1, we need to change it to 0.5. Okay. And we can also mirror both of those two fillets that we've done to the other side, should we so choose. Yep. There's the mirror function. So again, select the center plane that we're going to mirror around, the vertical plane in the middle. Select the objects that we want to mirror, and then press OK. So whatever happens on one side of the ring has now happened on the other side of the ring. Once again, mirrored through that center vertical plane. Okay. So probably the last thing to do is select that top surface and then go down into Create Menu and create a drawing, and then create a text. I'm going to put a bit of text on the top of it and engrave it. So let's see what we can do with that. So select text, type in the size that you want, select the type of text script that you're interested in, and there's lots of options to choose from. I want to go something a bit sort of antique, so I'll scroll down here amongst the different type fonts and find one that I like. And if you click on them, you'll find that the type font will change, so you'll get a feel for what they will look like, all the weird names. I'm playing around having a look through all these type fonts, but this one will do. Nice fancy French one, or maybe not quite. I might go for something a little bit fancier. There we go, something like that. Now the size can be adjusted, and you can grab that little grab handle and twist it around until it's the right shape that you want it to be. You can position it. Once you position the middle, grab the center locating button and you can drag the whole process to where you want it. I don't quite like it there standing up like that. I think I want to have it around a different way. So although I've positioned it in the center, I think in a minute I'm going to change it around so the text is actually running vertically, not horizontally. Here we go. By just winding that second button down, I get the text in the position that I want, and then I can drag it into the center so that it looks pretty good. Click OK. Now that's just a two-dimensional shape there on the surface. I want to extrude that or cut away from some material underneath. So I'm going to go eventually I'm going to finish the sketch off, and I'm going to select the surface so it highlights, and I'm going to select extrude, but this time I'm going to cut away a short distance. You can drag it by hand or just type it in, 1 or 2 millimeters, and then you can select OK. It's just in one direction this time. And the ring is almost complete. There it is. We might just put a little bit of color to it, so go to design and go to the render submenu, and then select the material. That's the color wheel over there. Select that, and we'll find it by scrolling down. There's Joe here. Select the metal. I'm going to go for some gold, and then drag that metal shape onto the object, and it will take on the qualities of that metal shape. So you've got to drag it across. If you remember that, it'll be good. And you've got a golden ring. Now you can do more things with the renders. You can place them in scenes, and you can do some fine adjustments, which you can play with that, around with those yourself to your heart's content. I suggest you do. It's quite a powerful rendering engine on Fusion 360. And when you do your design, just keep in mind that your 3D printing, you don't have the tensile strength of steel, so don't avoid a little bit of stuff hanging out from one side or the other side of your project, so that it can easily be snapped off when you're printing. So remember that you need to have some stiffness and support for your materials. Okay, so there's a few little more adjustments I'm just walking you through here. If you want to play with them and light sources and so forth, you can have some fun and do that as you're ready. And in the meantime, thank you for watching the video. I hope you really get a chance to create some really fancy ring that you quite like, and it'll be fun for you to wear out. Alright, so good night.